baby, guess what time it is? It's pizza time. That's right, today we're gonna make homemade pizza. So there's lots to go through. I'm gonna go through it quickly with you, but also pointing out the important things, all right? So first of all, the first thing we need to do is preheat our oven. So if you can see here, I've got this on bake. I've got it turned to 450, which means my oven is preheating. First thing you want to do, because it's got to crank itself up to quite some temperature, have your pizza pan ready, your rolling pin, get all your ingredients out. So what exactly do you need? I've got my recipe here too. I need a total of 2 cups of flour. We're going to come back and talk about that in a second. I need 1 packet of yeast. If you get this pizza yeast, it's the best one because you don't have to do anything separate to it other than that. You have to get your 2/3 a cup of very warm water. Now I've actually had to dump this out twice because each time as I was collecting things, my water cooled. So you want to just put your finger in it and it should be feeling like a nice warm bath like you want to bathe in. If not, redo that water again. You've got your 3 tablespoons of olive oil. You've got 1.5 teaspoons of white sugar and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Now I accidentally poured mine into my flour, so that's why it kind of looks like that, but that's a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I've got tomato sauce here, cheese grated, and my pepperoni. These ingredients are actually double because we're going to make a second pizza. However, these ingredients are all singular. Okay, so the very first thing you're going to do, get yourself a mixing bowl, and we want to start with only 1 cup of flour. This is most important, only 1 cup. Leave the rest of the flour there. We're going to use it later, okay? Then I'm going to add in my packet of yeast, okay? So cut that open or tear that open. Miss Street, are you doing it right? Yes, the yeast is the next thing. I scared my own self. I know why, because the first time I added in the oil with the dry ingredients and I wasn't supposed to. Anyways, so I added in my salt and my sugar. I'm just going to give those a mix so that they're all added together. Next thing that I'm going to be doing is adding my oil in with my nice warm water. Okay, again, making sure it's warm, which is kind of cooled down a little bit, but it's still probably warm enough. It's not cold. I don't want it to be cold. Add in my oil there. You guys know that oil and water won't mix, okay? However, you're just going to have them together like that, okay? So what you want to do is add the oil and water and blend until it's just mixed, so for about 1 minute. So I'm going to pour all that in there. And if you notice, I'm using a spatula here. That's so that I can kind of just turn it around. I'm mixing in my dry with my wet, but I also want to press that wet ingredient into the dry ingredient, okay? So I'm using the 2 of them like that. You can see it makes almost like a sticky kind of a paste. Now, there's no way I would touch this with my hands because I would get it all over my hands. But this is what I want my dough to look like first. And then what I'm going to do is after I've got that all kind of mixed in, and it says to do it for about a minute, you will see me do it a little bit less just to save some time, okay? But you guys are going to mix it for about a minute, which maybe even I've even been doing about now. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to gradually, which means slowly, add in my flour just enough to make a nice dough. So what I'll do is I'll just shake a little bit, and then I'm going to go ahead and press in the dry and the wet ingredients. Now I want a nice soft dough. I don't want it too dry and I don't want it too sticky, okay? So if after I add in all this flour here, I notice that it's still really sticky, it means it's time to add in more. If you notice, I'm using the back of the spatula to kind of just press those 2 ingredients together. Now each time that you do that, you should form a ball again and then decide, do I need some more? So you can actually, I don't even have to touch this to show you. You can actually see how sticky that is, which means yes, you need some more flour. Okay, so each time maybe add a little bit less flour just to make sure that you don't over add the flour, because then you can't really go backwards. It's really hard to add the water or the wet to the dry ingredient. To save on time, so once you do, actually here, hang on, let me show you. Once you do get this into a nice ball, okay, what you want to be able to do, I'm going to show you one that's already done, okay, because what it should look like, now I've just had some paper towels sitting over top of this to keep it moist, okay. I should be able to touch my dough and see how it seems a little sticky, but I can get my fingers off of it. Okay, that's the kind of dough that I want. I don't want it so dry that my hand won't stick to it, but not so sticky that I'm going to end up with it all over my fingers. Okay, so this is what it will look like. And you need to make sure it says knead it for about 4 minutes. So when I knead it, I'm going to show you exactly what that means, just so you have an idea. Lightly flour my surface. Now I've also sanitized my surface with bleach water, and that's to make sure that anything that might be on the counter doesn't get into my dough. So when I knead it, I'm actually using the palm of my hand to push it through each time, okay? And I'm rolling it like this, folding it back on itself. This is like slow motion. Folding it in and then rolling it out again, and I just keep on doing that. Push it through. It's to stretch all those all the gluten that's in there, okay? And if you do need gluten-free, you can get gluten-free flour for this too. All right, to save a little bit on time, we're going to quickly roll this out because we have to make this. So we're just going to give it a nice little roll that way. Nice little roll this way. Sorry, I'm turning my head away as I cough. Keep doing that until you've got about the size of your pan. So you can see this is the size I'm aiming for. You'll notice that when you do roll out the pizza dough, it does shrink back on itself. So we really have to apply some pressure to get that pizza dough rolled out. If you notice a thick part, I can feel it's thicker here. Press down on that part in particular, okay, to thin it out a little bit. You don't want one part thick and the rest thin. You want it to be about the same depth throughout, okay, the same thickness throughout. So I'm almost at the size that I need. Just going to keep going a little bit. Now, if you keep on turning it like that, that helps you to keep that circular kind of a shape, even though this guy's looking a little more square. But it will allow you to keep that kind of circular shape. Okay, and I'm just kind of pressing out my edges there. Thank you, camera person.
Everything is falling.
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to check, is that about the right size? Looks good to me. So then what I'm going to do, I don't know, does this recipe tell you to grease it? Oh, I tell you put parchment paper on it. Now, we don't have at our house parchment paper, so I might just spray a little bit of cooking spray to prevent it from sticking. But I have to say, usually when I do this, I don't put cooking spray on it necessarily, and I don't put the parchment paper. What the parchment paper does, and why we do it at school, is because it really helps for cleanup. It makes for a really easy cleanup. So that is part of why I do that. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're going to add your sauce first. So what I like to do is make sure my sauce is nice and close so I don't drip it. And I put about 2 big scoops. That'll be about that's about a quarter of a cup. And then I just use the back of the spoon to spread it. So what I'm trying to do is get to all the different parts of the pizza crust here and spread it. Now, some people like more or less sauce. I'm somebody who doesn't like too much sauce. However, some other people might put some more on there. You could also put various different sauces on. I've used like salad dressings before, like Caesar or ranch. You can put a variety of different things on based on what your likes are. Some people put barbecue sauce. Okay, Pizza Places has tried all different kinds of things, okay? So then what our recipe, I'm just gonna check here. I want to make sure I'm doing it the way that it says, is to start with, it just says put your toppings on. Oftentimes I'll tell you whether or not to put the pepperoni first. Depends if you want crisped up pepperoni, which I think is what I do want. So I'm actually going to put the cheese on first. So what I've got there is I've got a total of, it says 1 block of cheese, but a block at school is 1 cup of cheese. So you need about 1 cup of cheese, okay, which I've got 2 blocks here, or 2 cups here. So I'm going to put on about half of what I've got because that's saved for my other pizza dough that I still have to roll out. Then I'm going to take about 10 of my pepperonis. Now these pepperonis were frozen, but I just ran a little bit of water over them because I keep them frozen in my freezer for the time when I want to make pizza. And then I just run a little bit of water over top because it's already cooked, and then just take it out as I need it. And then that way it doesn't get all eaten up. If I store it in the fridge, then the kids eat it up really fast. So then I don't have any pepperoni for my pepperoni pizza. Now you could just do cheese. On that next one that I'm going to roll out, I'm actually going to do a spinach and feta one because that's what I like. Maybe put on some peppers too because I've got some peppers. Normally, if Kiana's to decorate this, my daughter, she will put a little smiley face on it. However, I've just done this one here, or a heart. She's done heart-shaped pizzas. And sometimes what we do, like, so this big one here, we roll it into separate individual ones so people can make their own individual pizza. So now what you're going to do with that is you're going to stick it in the oven. You're going to stick it in for 10 to 12 minutes. Take it out and see what it looks like. Stay tuned and I'll let you know what that looks like when it's done. Okay, it's ready, guys. Let's take a look and see how it looks. Ooh, my, keep your head away and down. You can see how beautiful that looks. And see how all the cheese is melted and a little bit golden on the edges? That's exactly what you want. So I've made a second one too that I'm gonna leave in there a little bit because I'm actually gonna broil the top of it. But when you're done, make sure you turn off your oven dials. Don't leave your oven on. Also too, when you are going to cut your pizza, please make sure you're cutting on a separate pizza on a cutting board. Don't use the knife on your pan because it'll scratch up your pan. I have to let this rest for 5 minutes before I can cut it, so I'm just going to tell you guys, this is going to be delicious. I hope you enjoy. Take care.